Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast with a purpose for the people. I am your host, Christopher Keith. Hope all is well. Hey, man, been a busy summer. Hope all has been well with you guys. I really missed being with you guys, but I'm happy to be back. Okay, it's been a busy summer. Hope you guys been safe. Hope you've been staying COVID safe and all that good stuff. Uh, yeah, man, there's a lot going on in the world, but one of the things we like to do on this show is just try to keep things simple, right? So much stuff in the news, so much things going on, and it could just be a whirlwind. Sometimes, we don't just, it's hard to just keep a hold of your basic stuff because you're just in survival mode, right? So even while all these things are going on, though, I think that it's always important to, keep a focus on, just some of the simple things, because we all have to have our own, self-maintenance, if you will, right? We all need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And part of that is just self-examination, right? And we're used to doing a lot of self-examination on this show. So hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about a subject it's rarely ever talked about. I don't think that I've ever really heard it talked about because, like, there's a song like, I don't know, like I'm not good at singing or anything in this context, but it's like win. Fuck everything else. Win, right? It's a show called Black as Fuck, Black AF, which is Black as Fuck on Netflix. It's really great. Um, Shout out to Kenya Barris. And that's the theme song, right? Is that song, fuck everything else, win. And then you heard the worst president in the world was like, we're gonna be doing so much winning, you're gonna be tired of winning. Now that was a really shitty impression of a shitty president. So he deserved that shitty impersonation. But you get what I'm saying, right? About like, I want to win, I'm tired of losing. But that's a Western culture thing. Western cultures Western cultures teaches us, a really big lie in saying that, winning is always the most important thing in life, right? Al Davis, rest in peace, from the radio used to say, just win, baby. That was his motto, just win. He don't care whether you use steroids, he don't care if you cheat, you can bite the opponent, you know, as long as you win on Sunday. But in life we tend to take more losses than we do wins. You know what I mean? Which is why winning can be so sweet because you generally take more losses. Um, and we don't understand the value and get the lessons when we do lose. Uh, then losing can tend to be very frustrating. We have all these unrealistic expectations, become discouraged, exhausted, bitter. All these things can come with, not knowing how to deal with loss, right? Again, personal losses, things that were a loss to you, whether it was your fault or not, you know. And again, life has more disappointments than they do victories. That's just life, you know. At least for most common people anyway. I don't know, maybe if you're a billionaire, maybe you don't experience a lot of losses in your life, uh but regardless, money's not going to eliminate you from all losses. As a matter of fact, a lot of times before those guys got to be billionaires, they experienced quite a few losses. They just kept going. So as we like to do on this show, I always start with myself first, talking about taking some L's, right? Taking some L's, man. Obviously in sports, I've taken L's, been on teams that lost, uh, taking L's in life. I remember one time I was a supervisor at UPS, and this was one of those things that was on me, right? So I was a supervisor in the car wash and clerical department, and I was in charge of the people who. Part of my job was in charge of people who wash the package cards every day. And so one guy, one night, he had a small accident, and it wasn't a big deal, but it was a small accident. He came to me, and he was like, "Hey, Chris, I got this. I had a little accident, blah blah blah." And my stupid ass, because it was a Friday and I was ready to go, I was like, I looked at it, well, man, don't worry about it, you know. So, he was like, okay, cool. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. So shit, I came in the next week, man. It was a big old thing, man. He reported that shit to the shop steward and all of that because I was company and he was, uh, he was union. Shout out 688 UPS. I was a member. And so I lost my job over that. You know what I mean? And it was really me. It was me. It was my decision not to take whatever time it was going to take to report that accident and document everything. And it was a part-time job, but it was a good little part-time job for a brother back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But that's the L you take, right? Another L I took. Company I worked at, payroll company, Ceridian. I had been there for not too long. It was a job that I really liked. It was in payroll, right? And I was a special projects guy. And so, like, say for instance, if a company was doing a bank transfer, they had they were moving their accounts over from one bank to the other. I would be in charge of moving their accounts over. That was just one of the things I did, and I really enjoyed it. The guy who gave me the job, his name was John Bass. Rest in peace, John Bass. Great, great, great man. I remember when he gave me before he hired me, he asked me because I was the only guy in the department that didn't have a degree. So he was like, you don't, I like you, Chris, but you're the only person in the department that wouldn't have a degree. Why should I hire you? And I just told him, I was like, hey man, because I'm hungry, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, to, do a good job, and I think that he sensed in me that I'm kind of a loyalty kind of guy. So I'm loyal. And if you give me a chance and an opportunity, I'm very loyal to those people who've done that for me. And so, man, he took a chance on me. So it came a point, maybe about a year, 2 years later, if that, where we had some organizational changes. And because of that, I was laid off. It was like one of them first, last hire, first fire type of situations. And so I remember he called me into the office, well, what it was I got to log it in on my computer and stuff and noticed it was like, you can't get in, rejected, blah, blah, blah. And so as I was trying to put my stuff in the second time, John tapped me on the shoulder and he was like, hey, come on, let me talk to you. So I was like, okay, and I don't know, I don't remember whether I thought something was up then, but I don't know because I didn't see the changes coming. So I might have just thought they was working on my shit. But anyway, so he told me what was up, and even though, it was a shock, I was like, okay, it was just like, it wasn't nothing that I did, right? But nothing that I did wrong. I didn't, I was doing a great job. Actually, once I got the training down, I was doing a great job. And, he had to let me go. And so I was like, okay, well, I really appreciate the opportunity and everything. And I felt fine about it. Like I really did. Like I really felt fine. And my reaction was so surprising to him, just my whole attitude with it, that, like he was really upset. Like he was crushed because not only was, well, so John was black and obviously I'm black. And I was the only other black person in the department. So I know that to a lot of degrees, he looked out for me, and we had a really terrific relationship. He was season tickets to the St. Louis University basketball games. And, he used to give me tickets when he wouldn't go, just used to look out for me, and I, met his family and everything. So we were kind of tight, and he just felt really bad. He felt super bad, but I just would refuse to let him. I was like, "Hey, it's not your fault, man. Don't worry about it." And he was like, "Man, Chris, you the one lost your job. You over here cheering me up." And I just told him, "Hey, man, it's cool. Don't worry about it." And so, he went and told everybody, that how my reaction was. That I took this L, like a G. And so subsequently, when the doors opened back up, they hired your boy back. John called me himself. Matter of fact, no, he hollered at a friend of ours that we knew mutually. It was like, hey, see if Chris want to come back. And I was like, yeah, I want to come back because I really like the job. So, he brought me back with the raise, and it was all good, man. It was all good. I stayed there, for over a decade. It was great. So it wasn't just my qualifications, it was just the attitude that I displayed while taking it L. Now, that doesn't mean that L wasn't painful. It doesn't mean that I wasn't that I was employed. Of course I was unemployed. And I was used to having a regimen of getting up every day and feeling like, man, I'm going to do a job that I like. I'm bringing income home. You know what I'm saying? Able to take care of my kids, yada yada yada. It's all good. And so that was obviously a transition. When you wake up and you're not going anywhere. So it's not to say that just because you know how to take a loss doesn't mean that the loss don't hurt, because losses can hurt depending on the degree. They can hurt, and that one certainly hurt. It hurt a lot. And there was times where I really felt lost, looking for a job. And at that time, that's when we was dropping off resumes. We wasn't getting online, doing the resumes. We was dropping them off, going to visit places. Hey, can I speak to a hiring manager? You just driving, on, basically door to door, trying to just go to random companies, because they wasn't even necessarily always in the newspaper. So, I do remember just, at times feeling worthless, because I couldn't find a job, and that's part of I guess that's part of a man thing. A man wants to be working and he wants to feel like, he's useful in society. And without that, you just kind of feel like a bum, right? So I'm saying all that to say that I had all those feelings on the back end, right? But I wasn't the kind of person that was going, cuss out my manager, you know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't on him, it just wasn't on him. And actually, the same thing happened to the job that I'm on now. We had three different layoffs, three different stages based on COVID, and I had passed all of them. And then when the order got pushed for the CARES Act, pushed it back to September 30th, hey, we had been told like a week before, just a week before, we were told our jobs were safe, regardless of what they did with that CARES Act, because most they expected would be it would get pushed back to uh, end of March at the earliest, maybe the end of May. When they went to September, they just cut a lot of business out. So again, I was in the same predicament, uh, not really where my boss tapped me on the shoulder, it was where HR came in. And so it wasn't just me, it was like several other people, you know, came in, tapped us on the shoulder, man, we had to go. So, so what was funny was I'm giving you a lot of inside baseball, but again, I'm telling you how I pace, know how to take a loss. So we usually would have meetings, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'd have Zoom meetings because we were all mostly working from home. And then a week that I came back was actually the week that we got laid off. So I noticed that my boss had canceled. He canceled the Wednesday meeting. And he canceled the Friday meeting. So now it wasn't unusual for him to necessarily cancel one meeting, but for him to cancel two without saying nothing, that was unusual. So after we got let go on Friday, it came to me. I said, man, my God knew. He knew because he doesn't work in our city. He works in New York. So, that's why our meetings were always in Zoom. So and again, we have a tight knit group in my company. So my particular department in compliance, we have a very tight knit group. So we all got each other's numbers and we text and check on each other, yada yada. And so I text him, that weekend, and I just told him because I hadn't talked to him. It was we only talked to HR, and I told him, I said, hey, chin up, boss. Just not on you. I know you did everything you could to watch over us, cover us, and I appreciate you. You got nothing but loyalty for me because you've been nothing but loyal to me, you know. And so again, he texted me back and he was like, Chris, your attitude and enthusiasm never ceases to amaze me, never ceases to amaze me. And, again, did it feel good? No, because again, this happened to be a job that I really, really like, and again, you're going from making a salary to not making a salary, so it was tough, but again, a few months later, I got the call and he actually texted me and was like, hey, Chris, think we got some openings, would like you to come back. Would you still be interested? I'm like, of course I am. And, I had a couple vacations set up, but they let me take them without pay, of course, because I'd already taken my PTO when I got laid off. Got paid for that. So, I started back again, accumulating that. But it was a help to both of us because they needed some people. He needed somebody in his department that he didn't have to train because some other people left on their own, not because they were furloughed. So there ended up being an opening. And again, I know without a doubt that, yeah, I'm, if I wasn't shit for a worker, they wouldn't have called me back. Matter of fact, I wouldn't have made it past 3 layoffs. But the fact again that I just was not that guy that was like, get my motherfucking check, y'all be lying to us, you told me that our jobs was safe. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go there at all because I knew it wasn't on him. I knew he wasn't making that decision. He's basically in the same situation I am. He just got a more responsibility and a higher payroll, right? But our team, we operate like, hey, we in this thing together. And again, it's another reason why um, why I was loyal and I wasn't tripping. Some other people, they was tripping, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying they shouldn't trip because that's on them. They got their reasons, right? But I just understood, because then it gets to the politics of who stayed and who goes, and that person stayed because so and so liked them and all of that, but that's just shit you can't control. So it's no sense in you even worrying about that, right? That's just it's wasting a lot of energy, on stuff that's not even important. You can't control that. So why trip? What's done is done. You can't change. It's like if I make a call in a basketball game or a baseball game, if I say strike three, that's strike three. It ain't finna change, right? If I say you out at second, you out. And replay, ain't no recourse, right? We don't work in the major leagues. You out, cat. This is it. If I call foul, it's a foul, period. So, dealing with the reality of where you are, is the best. Again, that's the best thing. It's the best way you can learn how to take an L. So here's another L I took. We talked about sports. I remember, man, years ago when I used to play ball all the time, before I started reffing, because when I started reffing, I stopped playing ball because I didn't want to get hurt because I was like, man, if I get hurt and can't ref, then I can't make no money, right? Can't support myself. So, but when I was playing, I used to go hoop, different gyms and stuff. And most people know, if you're a black man, especially, there are basketball players, there are hoopers, right? I was a basketball player. I learned how to play basketball. I was not a hooper, but it was like a kind of rites of passage for me, to compete against other men, especially against the hoopers, right? Because to them, this thing was way more serious than it was to me. To me, it was just about whether I cheated myself. It was about whether I went out and gave it my all, whether I used my mind, whether I learned from what I was doing, and that I give myself the best chance to win. If I did that, then I felt good walking away. If I felt like I cheated myself, I didn't go hard enough, I wasn't thinking enough, or if I ever felt that I gave up or didn't quite, you know, push beyond what I thought my limits were, then I would be disappointed. So that's how I measured it, right? And I was a competitive motherfucker too. So, one time we was playing at this church in St. Louis County. And some of y'all know this cat's name. His name was Julian Winfield. Is Julian Winfield. Hopefully he's still alive. Ain't trying to kill Julian Winfield. Well, anyway, his dad played for the Seattle Supersonics, Lee Winfield. Julian was cold. He was all Big 8 at Mizzou. So I think it was Big 8 then. It's Big 12 now. Shit, it's probably 15 teams in the mug now, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so I'm playing against Julian, right? I'm on one team, Julian on the team. Then nobody else want to check Julian because Julian's still cold. So I'm doing my best to check Julian, right? I mean, I'm on him. I'm on him. Now, again, Julian's a hooper, right? He's a hooper. He could do this shit in his sleep. I have to think and, work my way to maximize every possible, advantage or, whatever to minimize my disadvantages, just on the fly, because this is how this cat was. But so I was on this dude, man. And let me tell you, it didn't matter what I did. This cat was giving it to me, right? Left hand, right hand, jumper, fade away. He did everything but dunked on me. Okay. When I tell you this dude gave me the smoke, when I tell you he gave me the business, he gave me the business. He told my ass up. You hear what I'm saying? Told my ass up. And but it was cool because it was just all respect, right? He didn't know me from a bag of nails, and I knew him, just from watching him on TV around the neighborhood when he was in high school and all of that. So, but I was on him, man. I did the best I could. I knew I did the best I possibly could. And he just went through me, dog. you know, he just went through me. So, after the game, dapped him up. It was all good. He ain't talk no trash. He ain't talk shit or nothing. It was all good. It was all great. So that was on one Tuesday. The next Tuesday, he was picking teams, right? When you shoot for a squad and stuff, he picked a team. First person he picked was me. Give me him. I don't even think he knew my name or nothing, but he knew that was that cat last week that was on my ass. That no matter what I did to him, he kept coming back. He kept coming back. And so Julian probably shot the ball. I think we won like 4 straight games to shut the gym down. So, we won. We never lost that night. So from the time the gym opened to the time it closed, we won. He might have shot the ball out of them 4 games, maybe 10 times. Most of the time, he was passing to me. He was like shaking cats, throw it to me, and he was like, and I was shooting. He was like, three, that's a three. That's what it was, right? And we just ran it. We just ran it. But more importantly than that, you know what I said to myself walking away? I was like, man, you know, that dude respected me. He respected me. Uh, he respected me because I didn't quit. And I took that motherfucking hell. I took it like a G, right? Dapped him up, no hard feelings. I ain't mad at you, dog. My ego ain't hurt. My pride ain't hurt. Hey, man, the issue, because I'm really competing with myself. I'm competing with myself. Julian and his talent and abilities are just the standard. It's just the standard that I'm matching against, right? It's just the parameters that I'm matched up against. It's the test. But the real lesson is, what am I doing to apply myself? And so that was the bigger issue. And so I ended up gaining his respect. And as a basketball player, not a hooper, right? That was the highest compliment I could get. And it was things like that I would say to myself, because I was a late bloomer into my manhood. I would say to myself, you know what? If I can do this on this court amongst these, black men who are competitive, who are hyper masculine, sometimes angry, you know, if I could do this and succeed in this arena, then I could do anything in life, right? I just felt like I could be a success in life. That's the things I used to tell myself. You may think it's silly, but I don't. I think the shit is really dope and on point. You gotta have a little test in some areas before you can, go out in others. And that's, you just measure your successes based on where you are, and that's where I was. That was a place where I could go. Um, so yeah, man, taking that L, man, taking that elevated me. It elevated me. You know, uh, same way for officiating, right? I officiate, like I just mentioned before, up to 7 sports now. Uh, and there are times where, I blow a call, call something that wasn't there, or, play myself, misjudge something, you know, and, there are times where I tell a player, hey, I missed that. I'll be behind the catcher and call something a ball. And, like, damn, as soon as I said, I was like, ball, but it just came out my mouth. So I tell a batter, I'll be like, hey, man, don't let another one go by like that. And I tell the catcher, hey, man, that's my bad. That's my bad. Matter of fact, I remember one time this guy threw a sweet, sweet curve, and I called it a ball, but it was a strike. It was a strike by rule. I called it a ball, and, he looked some type of way about it. He's probably 16, 17 years old. He looked some type of way about it, and he ended up striking the guy out. But he had attitude with me, right? He had attitude with me. He had a right to. But anyway, so he went out, and when he came back out to pitch the next time, I was like, hey, pitch, turn around. Cat was from Detroit too, as a matter of fact. I remember that squad was from Detroit. It was a summer league thing, travel ball. And so the guy, I said, hey man, I said on that pitch before you struck that last guy out, the pitch before that was a strike, man. Hey, you fooled me, my bad. I got you. When I tell you this kid's eyes lit up, he was like, he went from being pissed at me a few minutes ago, his eyes lit up. Oh, thank you. Oh no, you good, Blue. You good. You know, and I mean, so he went from being pissed to like telling me, hey, don't worry about it, guy. I got you, guy. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. You know, my dude, you good, you know. So he taking me off the hook, you know, just because I made myself accountable. Take the L. Doesn't matter, you know. And I'm the kind of guy, when I'm on a court, when I'm on a field, you know, my philosophy is this. I'm here for you. You're not here for me. But don't make no mistake. Don't get it twisted. I do run this. I do run this. And we will have order. So I don't deal with disrespect. I don't let it slide. I don't let it go. You know, but you know, there's a responsibility to that. So you have to be just as accountable. You know, as a leadership authority and figure, I must be accountable to the job and to those kids, you know, to the coaches, parents, et cetera, you know. So you got to have honor in your shit, you know. And so part of having honor is just manning up, manning up. Hey, coach, I probably blew that one, you know. And 9 times out of 10, you know, if you accept responsibility, you know, they cool because they do get it. They understand. Now, what you can't do is say that shit 3 or 4 times in the game because then you look like an incompetent asshole, right? So anyway, so yo, I'm not the only one, right? Most of y'all favorite 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 basketball players. Most of the guys in my generation, anyways, Michael Jordan, you know. But hey, Michael Jordan took many L's, right? He's known to be a 6-time champion, 6-time MVP, never lost the finals, never went to a game 7 in the finals. But Jordan got swept more than once, right? Um, he took some losses. He scored a lot of points and took some losses sometimes. Detroit gave him some beat downs, right? Uh, they used to laugh at him, you know. So he learned, you know, and they always talk about how, you know, he hated losing. Yeah, he hated losing, but he had to learn from the loss. It ain't just about hating losing. You know, he had to go lift the weights. He had to learn how to trust his teammates. So there was a lot of shit that he had to do that his sheer force and ability were not able to take him. Just learn how to take a L, right? President Obama, when he first ran um, against Bobby Rush in Chicago, he took a fat ass L, right? He lost in 2000. He lost the Chicago race. I guess I don't know if it was congressman or someone. I think it was congressman. Uh, but he lost by a 2-to-1 margin, 2-to-1. You know, and in reading his book, you know, he had to take a lot of responsibility for that L because there was a lot of things that he just didn't get, that he didn't get about politics, that he didn't get about Chicago, that he didn't get about loyalty amongst, you know, Black voters, Black seniors in particular, name recognition. So, you know, again, that's a lot, you know, it's a lot to deal with, you know, that you have to be self-aware and honest, you know, about taking them L's. Now, what happens when you don't know how to take the L? You know, well, one thing you learn is that, like, you know, like the former president, 45, orange man, traitor, murderer, tax evader, rapist. Uh, what happens with a guy like that? He can't take an L. So what does he do? He says, well, y'all cheated. Y'all cheated. Even though, you know, it was the safest election ever, y'all cheated. What did he do? Call Georgia. Matter of fact, I want you to cheat for me, Georgia. He called the Georgia Secretary of State. Cheat for me. Please find me 11,000 votes, right? Uh, what are all the people that gathered, you know, try to turn a coup January 6th? I can't take the L. Can't take the L. Hey, election was free and fair. Went to court, you lost. Went to another court, you lost. Went to another court, lost. This state, that state, the other state, lost, 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 lost. L, 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 L. Like more L's than LL. Cool J, you know what I'm saying? But can't take it. So what do? Bitch, whine, complain, lie, try to restrict voting rights, right? Attempt, you know, an all-out attempt war on voting rights. And just think about it. So their numbers are shrinking, you know, Republicans, white males. So instead of them saying, you know what, we got this L, right? Now, why did we get this L? Right? Just that's what Obama did. He had to figure out, why did I get this L? Right? He didn't just, you know, take his ball and go home. He was like, hey, why did I get this L? When he figured out why I got, okay, now I'll be back. They don't have better people, better staff, better plan, better strategy, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the Republicans, they don't have better plan, better strategy. They're like, fuck it. I don't want to deal with why I got this L. I'm just going to deny, la, 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 la. I didn't lose, I didn't lose, I didn't lose, I didn't lose, right? They want to deny that and say, fuck it, I'm going to take the ball and go home. I'm just going to keep y'all from vote, right? It's what you should do, what they should do is develop a strategy to say, here's why we lost. Here's the issues that people care about, swing voters, independent voters, et cetera, and we'll be back, right? That's the way normal shit would look, right? If you know how to take your L. But if you don't, then you just create laws to where you say, fuck the other side so they can't vote. And even if they voted and won, we, the minority, can just overturn their vote. So basically it's some apartheid shit, right? And so that's what happens, that's on a much larger scale. But then you got it on lower scales too, where people just don't know how to take the L's and they're gonna blame somebody else. Happens to me all the time in sports, blame the referee, you cheated, and that type of shit, well, that's just blaming somebody else, for their lack of achievement, right? And not afraid to tell them that sometimes. Sometimes you just walk away and I'll say, no, but other times, hey man, don't blame me. I didn't make one basket go in, I didn't block a shot. You missed them shots. You turned the ball over, right? Your man scored them buckets on you, right? That's what it is, right? So same thing in relationships, right? Romantic relationships, people don't know how to take the L, right? What do you mean by the L? By, hey, just admit when you was wrong. Admitting, you fucked up. You said you was gonna do something, you didn't do it. You said you was gonna be somewhere, you weren't there. Somewhere your integrity fell off. Whatever the case may be, right? Just a simple disagreement. You misunderstood something. You took something out of context. Whatever the case may be, right? You can make excuses or you can accept responsibility and take that L. Get better, right? So, I don't want to keep you guys super long, but when you talk about how do you learn from taking your L? Well, one good way is just to ask questions and assess things, right? So when I was laid off, there was a time, there were plenty of times, again, went through this cycle of sending out resumes for jobs, except everything was online. Obviously you got COVID and you got the new, 21st century. You don't just, at least in the 2020s, you don't just walk up to people's offices nowadays, right? You make it walk in a restaurant or something. You don't just walk up in people's offices and be like, hey, I want a job, don't really work that way. But if you're at a place, for instance, where you get a second, third interview, right? And you get to talk to somebody, you get something that's not a letter saying you didn't get the job, and sometimes, even if you do get the letter, but if you make it past that initial, HR recruiter or something like that, right? And you get to a person who, wanted to, who interviewed you, that sort of thing. And you get the, they didn't get the job. Hey, sorry, Mr. McCaleb, you didn't get this job, Well, what a smart person would do is say, hey, I want to thank you for this opportunity, taking the time to meet with me and interview me and to consider me. I would like to know, why didn't I get this job? Where did I come up short? Was this just something where someone was more qualified than I? Was it something that I did, something on my resume, something in my presentation, in my dress? Those are very smart things to do. Those are effective ways to learn from an L. See, losing is kind of like learning, right? Instead of it just being a loss, it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It's something you can learn, right? Again, because again, look at me, right? I knew that again, I was laid off twice. Uh, both of those times weren't my fault, you know. And again, there were those times when, it could have been my fault where, other jobs. I had a lot of jobs in my life. So believe me, there were times where, you know, some was my fault, some wasn't. But none of it is never the point, you know, because that's just life, you know. Life is not fair. But I don't think life is meant to be fair that way. I think life is meant to present us with challenges and opportunities to learn, and become greater than our circumstances, greater than, you know, the things that are just brought before us, It's something about, again, overcoming, knowing even with Jordan, when they took them losses, that means that win was sweeter when you won the championship. Hey, you got tears and everything. Why? Because winning just wasn't easy. It wasn't an everyday thing, right? Uh, again, it's not to take away the grieving process because again, some losses are, roll off of, my daddy used to say, water off a duck's back. And some losses, cause you to grieve a little bit, right? And that's okay. It's okay. As long as you learn something from it. If you go through that grieving process, it's okay. As long as you go through, as long as you learn something from it. And understand that taking the L doesn't necessarily say anything about you or your abilities, your worth. Uh, Again, it's just life. L, losing, learning, life. Sometimes you have to take, sometimes you have to redefine what winning is to you, right? Because they always say success, you can define success. What is success for you? Is it $1 million? Is it $10 million? Is it being a boss? Uh, what is success to you? Is it having a great big house? Is it accomplishing your goals? Whatever success is for you, it's the same thing about winning. And again, it's not a zero-sum game. Nobody else can define winning for you. Look at Simone Biles. Simone Biles. She's a fine example, of being able to step away, walk away from the team, and hey, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna let you guys be great because I got the not the yips, the twisties. I got the twisties. So and I'm here for a bigger purpose. Her bigger purpose was to say, hey, I'm the only surviving person in this gymnastics organization, performing who was molested by Larry Nassar. So her bigger cause, in winning that bronze was as cold as all of those goals because the bronze was cold on so many different levels because she had to scale her shit back. Number one, she scaled her shit back, but she's still so cold that it won the bronze, right? She took a safe route out, compared to her abilities, but she's still so cold that so that her bronze again. Are you going to tell me that's a loss? I don't think it is. She redefined winning. You know, she redefined winning. I remember one time when I was going to Webster University and I was taking this uh, some kind of political philosophy class, and we was reading a lot of Shakespearean stuff, and we was reading a lot of you know Nietzsche, and we was reading you know those great thought philosophers. The names are escaping me now, but you know who I'm talking about, right? They speak in these languages, where it's all over your head. And I remember, man, I could never understand this shit, right? It was hard as fuck. And I remember, man, just being miserable for this whole class, but it was a requirement. And obviously, once I started it, I had to finish it. And I remember I got a D in that class. And let me tell you, that was one of the happiest days of my life, was getting a D out of that class. Uh, Dang, I can't remember this guy's name, but Socrates. It was like, yeah, we was reading Socrates and shit like that. So yeah, that was a hard as grinding as college. I mean class, right? And that D for me was a W. It was a win. So, so again, man, again, every day to conclude, every day, we're going to be going through something, and we're going to take some L's. We're going to get some W's, but again, your L could be it's loss, it's also life, it's also opportunity to learn, opportunity to get better. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me here. That is our show for today. If you like, hey, subscribe. And if you want to subscribe on our YouTube page, or you can also email us if you like at theforrealdoshow@gmail.com. All right, peace, y'all. Take it easy and see you next time. Welcome back. Thanks for welcoming me back. Peace.